Hello everyone, Shroomraver here, and welcome back to Let's Make a Mini. This is the series where I'm going to be taking some of our favourite characters from the world of TV, movies, video games, comics, all that good stuff, and making them on Hero Forge as TTRPG or D&D minifigures. Yes, indeed. Now, today, very exciting one for me. I've been looking forward to doing this one for quite some time. We are going to be making Nightcrawler from the X-Men franchise. Now, Nightcrawler is my favourite X-Men member of all time. He's a very, very popular character within the whole franchise as well. There have been a lot of really cool iterations of him. I grew up watching X-Men Evolution on Toonami. What a great show. And that was a kind of different version of Nightcrawler, a younger, sort of more kid kind of, or young teen kind of character. We're going to be focusing more on the comic book version, and probably more specifically like the Unlimited X-Men version, where you get to see a little bit more of what Nightcrawler can do. And there are a lot of cool effects we can add onto this. The challenges are not going to be so much the facial features, they're going to be more within the clothing style, but I think we can manage it, so without further ado, let's make a mini. So, starting things off, we actually get to use different races here, which is really cool, because we've mostly been using human builds. What we could do is go with this kind of half-demon kind of thing, but looking at it, there's actually something probably better that we can use. We might actually just go elf. I think half-elf here is going to be the one. Obviously, the half-demon comes with the tail, but we can just add that in. So we're going to go with a half-elf build for now. In terms of the head, the expression, we want to make him a little bit less a little bit smiley, but not too much. We want to get the sort of the mouth open, if we can, and we'll go with a little bit of a snarl as well. The reason for that is we want to get the teeth in, which we're going to do right now. We want to get the just looking at it, the fang teeth, the vampire style is quite good. We could just go with spiky teeth, but I think we want to get those teeth more pronounced. He is kind of a more demonic-ish character, and we might try and get that mouth a little bit more open. There we go, that should be fine. We'll run with that. In terms of the hair, we're going to go with a bedhead look, I think. Yeah, that's probably fine. And that's really all we need to do on the face. We just want to accentuate the teeth, the ears, and we can add to it later with different forms of sort of colouring and stuff like that. Now, in terms of the body, he is quite sort of ripped, as it were. We're going to make him a lower weight class, but we're going to give him a bit more muscularity. Not too much, we don't want him to be overdone in that sort of way. And we are, of course, going to give him a tail. Now, we've got a few new kind of tails. As I said, I think I mentioned before, they've added in a lot of draconic kind of things, have Hero Forge. So we have this one, but that's a bit too aquatic. This one is a bit too draconic. What we want is just your basic kind of lizard tail, which you can see, it doesn't, we're not quite getting the arrowhead tail that is quite synonymous, but what we can do actually is probably get that with the demon tail. That's much better. Yes. We get the arrowhead tail that Nightcrawler has. We don't get as many ridges down the tail, which I don't believe he does either. And that is much of what we're going to be doing with Nightcrawler in terms of the body. So now, once again, we can get onto the fun stuff, we can get into the clothing, we can get into the gear, which he is going to have, and we can get into the colouring. So in terms of the clothing, we don't want anything on the head. The chest is what we want to do. I'm really excited about some of these new additions, by the way. Look at this, we've got a lab coat and scrubs. This is going to help me a huge amount with some of the characters I want to make. But not for Nightcrawler. No. Nightcrawler, we're going to go further down, because what we want for Nightcrawler is a kind of, almost like a skin-tight suit. But we also want to be able to get the colouring in. In Ultimate X-Men, he wears quite a sort of dark-coloured skin tone. He has this kind of V kind of pattern going over it. Now, we can't get that exactly, but we can get a fairly close approximation. What I'm looking for is far down here, somewhere. I know what I'm looking for, I just can't find it. Oh, come on, where are you? Where are you? It's one of the only sort of more skin tight looking tops that you could actually have on Hero Forge. And it's here. This is the one, uniform. Very simply named. Now, this does not look like Nightcrawler at the moment, but it will. And it's going to get even weirder because we are going to give him gloves. Now, Nightcrawler's fingers and toes are kind of like this. They're not like this, they're more like that, if you see what I mean. He has 2 fingers on each hand and I believe 2 toes. Now, we can't get that on the hands, but that's fine because we're going to have him holding some items. We can get it on the feet, we'll get onto that later. What we want is something that can have mostly white but have sort of a red rim sort of at the end of it. We can do that. Mechanics are possible, but we want them to be a bit longer than that. So what we're really looking for is these Paladin's gauntlets. And again, I know this is looking a bit strange, but I promise you it's going to make sense when we colour him in. The legs, we're looking for something quite basic. Something like this would be okay. Something like this, not so much. Again, we don't want any real attention on the legs, but we want them still to be quite sort of basic but skin tight if we can. Now what I'm looking for, I believe, are just your basic peasant pants. And once again, I can't really find. We could try the scrubs. No, that's not quite what I'm looking for. We don't want that kind of drawstring thing going on. Where is the one I'm looking for? Because I cannot find it. It is definitely around here somewhere. It might be a little further down. We shall go on the search for exactly what I'm looking for. Again, the distressed pants are a possibility, but this belt is really not what I'm looking for. If we were doing a kind of X-Men movie Nightcrawler, we could go with that because he was wearing quite distressed clothing, the one played by Alan Cummings. What I'm looking for, I can't find them. It's not the baggy ones, we want the opposite of that really. They have to be around here somewhere. I know they exist. I've been using Hero Forge a long time. I know that what I'm looking for exists. The 80s ones, again, not what I'm after. Buckskin, not what I'm after. I'm after something very specific, and I've probably just like gone over it and just missed it entirely. So we might have to do a little bit of trial and error here, gang, in order to find what I'm looking for. It's not those. I'm looking for something that has this kind of round belt buckle. I've used it before. And you know, for the life of me, I just don't know where it is. Is that the one? Peasant pants. There we go. Got there in the end. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Sorry about that. Couldn't find it anywhere. But that's what we're looking for. We want this kind of... This buckle can be a little reminiscent of like sort of the utility belt kind of style thing. But let's not waste any more time on that. We've got what we need. We're not going to be using high heels in this one. But what we can do here, remember I said that the hands and feet have 2 fingers and 2 toes? We can do that with Nightcrawler here on the feet. And we're looking for something very specific that again doesn't get a whole lot of use. And it's these, I believe, the Ninja Tabby footwear. Because you can see right here, it's as close as we're going to get to 2 toes as we possibly can. So that's what we're going to run with. Now, once again, I will add gear in later. The one thing I will do is just pop in the base before I forget. We want to use this kind of ripple. Now, we could use any base here, but what I want to try and evoke from the base in this is Nightcrawler's teleportation power. As you're very probably aware, Nightcrawler's mutant power, his mutation is that he can teleport. And he does this usually in kind of like a puff of blue-black smoke. So we want to try and evoke that with his pose and with the base. We're not going to add the base items and his held items in colour just yet, but we will do that later. So, with that all sorted out, we can start getting onto the colouring. And this is where Nightcrawler is going to take shape, because this doesn't necessarily look a whole lot like Nightcrawler, but we will get there. Now, what we want to do is just add any given colour really here, any given colour. I think that this is going to be the best one. And from here, we're going to go on to paint. We wanted to get that just for the teeth and things like that. So what we actually might do, because I do want those teeth to be white, we will just use this basic human build so I can get the teeth in. Now, in terms of the colouring, we can go on to the skin, and of course we want this to be blue. But there isn't really a good blue, because a lot of the blue colourings are quite shiny and we don't necessarily want that. So what I think is probably best is to use a rough colour like this. This orcish hue. We're going to zoom in so I can get the lips as well. I want it to be quite monotone. There we go, that's lovely. We'll get the back of the neck. And that's all the skin he has on show. What we will do is get the tail as well. And again, we want this to be monotone, and that, I believe, will do nicely. So now what we can do is edit that. So we're going to do that right now. We want this to be blue. As blue as we can. So the high blue is going to be a little bit lighter. The low blue is going to be a little bit darker. And that is pretty accurate for Nightcrawler. The blue skin, it's not the shiny one, because like I say, like a lot of the blue skins you can get are aquatic creatures. So we wanted to take a more duller one, like the orc, goblinoid, that kind of thing, edit it to blue, and that will be fine. So that's nice and grand. Now we can get on to finishing the colouring here. This is the best hair, because it's a darker hair, but it's also got that kind of blue tinge. I want to get the eyebrows in that colour as well. I think I've got them. Yes, I have. And now the final part of the face is going to be the eyes. Now, we're going to do something quite special here, because in Ultimate X-Men, his eyes are monochrome, they're yellow. But we're not going to use the yellow eyes. No. We could, but we actually don't want him to have pupils. So what I'm going to do is use this. And now we have him with these yellow eyes, and that is the effect I want on Nightcrawler. In a lot of media, you'll see him with regular eyes, and that's fine. In Ultimate X-Men, because it's comic book, quite a few characters actually, I believe, do have these kind of one colour, one tone eyes, and that's what I want to get with Nightcrawler here. So I might just change his expression to make him a little angrier. We'll move the arc down a little bit, take the smile away, and that will do nicely for Nightcrawler's face. So now we can get on to the colouring aspect of the uniform, quote unquote, as it were, and Nightcrawler's really going to start to take shape. So we're going to be focusing on cloths here. We're mostly going to be using this Hero Forge red, and down a bit further is this dark navy blue. Now, I'm going to actually just change the pose once again. As you know, I like to be able to change the pose just so I can get as much surface area to colour as possible. So, we'll change that afterwards. Onto the blue, and we want his top to mostly be this blue. As you can see, that's our base, and all these kind of accented highlight bits, we're going to make the same colour. We're going to make that the same colour, we're going to make this the same colour, and just looking at it, I think all these kind of little bits as well, and here. The reason is because he has this kind of red V thing, and as you can see from the shoulder down to here, we can get kind of a version of that, and that's what we're going to try and do. So going on to this red is what we're going to do the rest of him. I'll try this red as well, but I think what I want is the slightly darker one. As you can see, we've got it at the back as well. We want everything here to be this red. This, and this all will be red. These accented highlight bits, once again, we're going to make the same colour as the base. And already it's starting to look a little bit better, so now we can start filling in the blanks. The whole belt is going to be red, and his gloves and his boots are mostly white, but the edges are red as well. So we're going to be able to do that simply by colouring these bits red. The rest is going to be white. So let's do that. And this is the reason I didn't want to give him his handheld items just yet, because these Paladin's gauntlets, they have many different facets to them that need colour. And that's just quite difficult to make sure you get all of them when he's already holding something. So that's what we're going to be doing here. We'll just colour in boots entirely white. Again, a lot of facets to these ninja feet, but that's okay. Again, we're just making them uniform. And that is Nightcrawler done, and already he's looking much more like the Nightcrawler we know from the comics. So, with that done, we can start looking at the extraneous bits. So, before I always forget to do this, I'm going to do the primer at the bottom, because I will forget. Now, in order to best get his teleportation thing going, what we want to do, because now we can add it to the base, get the items, and we're going to use the smoke effect on both item slots. Now we can move these around, and once again we can sort of colour these, and what I want is to get a nice mix of a dark and a blue. So with that in mind, this is the deepest blue, and what I want to do is mix and match the order of the colouring. So we can get this blue and a nice smoke effect. They don't actually have a smoke colour, which is fair enough, but the charcoal, the coal volcanic, will give us much the same kind of effect. So, as you can see there, he's got these kind of wisps of smoke coming up, and that will try and get the effect of his teleporting going through that. Now, rather interestingly, we can make the base just that one colour, but we can also mess around with this, and that's what I'm going to do here. If we're going to mix, as I've mentioned before, you can clone certain colours and edit them so that, you know, if we wanted to edit the coal, which, spoiler alert, is what we're going to be doing, that would edit the entire thing. That's not quite what I want to do. So what I'm going to do is go onto coal and copy it. And now what I'm going to do is go onto this Deepworks and take the bluest colouring, copy that, go into coal number 1, and we kind of want the base to be dark coloured but with the blue highlights. So if we go onto here, paste that in, now you can see we have an accented coal, and if we put it there, we have blue and black, which is exactly what we want. So that's perfect. So now we've got the kind of smoke effect going for his teleporting. The last thing we need to do is give him some stuff, some items. Now, in more modern versions, so like X-Men Evolution, the X-Men movie franchise, Nightcrawler just uses his teleportation, and he kind of does it in a kind of Portal style way, where his movement and teleporting gives him momentum to use brute force melee attacks. And kind of get it going with physics, like I say, almost like in Portal. But in Ultimate X-Men and in the comics, he actually uses weapons. And the weapons he uses are like these kind of cutlasses. My friend Dan Sidgy described him as a beautiful pirate man, I think, because of his cutlasses. And we can give him that. And that's exactly what we're going to do. I believe it's going to be on long blades. We scroll down. We could give him the rapier, but I don't really want to give him that. It's a little too ornate for what I'm after. So we're not going to do that. He does dual wield these, by the way, so we're going to give him 2. What we're going to give him is the cutlass. We're going to give him 2 of those, 1 in each hand, and that is going to be his weaponry. And now we're going to give that just a little splash of colour. So looking at it, they're quite basic. We're going to go on to metal for this, of course. It'll probably be this metal. That's mostly what I use for swords. We don't want them to be too ornate, so maybe for the hilt something like that. That's not quite enough. That might be a little too much. Perhaps this. That's better. Yeah, we'll do that. And for the most part, we want as much of this to be gold as possible. think I'm just going to put a basic leather as the handle. Just because why not? We'll put a ranger hide leather in there. Just get that. And this is why I wanted to do the gloves beforehand, because you notice how many different little bits you have to do each individual segment of the fingers. We wouldn't necessarily be able to get them if he was already holding his items. So, with Nightcrawler pretty much done, we're going to give him a pose. Normally I like to have people as open as possible, but we want him to be quite athletic, acrobatic, so this one is most likely the best one to go with. There's not a huge amount we need to change there. And that is pretty much going to be Nightcrawler done, I think. Yeah, I don't think there's that much we need to do on that, so let's take a little tour of Nightcrawler. As you can see, the main thing is to get the skin, to make sure he's this demonic blue skin thing. The nice yellow eyes, the slightly charcoal bluish hair is a nice fit. The uniform, difficult to do, but we've managed it just by taking the most skin type thing, adding the V where we can. The gloves and the boots follow suit. We've got his weapons, his swords that he uses in the comics, his tail is in. We can edit the tail if we particularly need to. If you go on pose, the tail is something that you can customize, and as you can see, you can customize it a lot. What I think I want to do is maybe just tilt it upwards and get it bent around and sort of twisted as much as possible. So there, we've got his tail a little bit more dexterous. He uses his tail a lot, like you might remember in X2, the second X-Men movie. He had a dagger which he wielded with his tail. And on Hero Forge, you can have the tail as just another limb that can hold weapons. We're not going to do that for this one because we're going with a more comic book version. So we've got his tail in there, that's very nice. Moving around, we've got the most athletic build we can. He's got his weapons in hand, and we've done as much as we can with this kind of base to sort of show his teleportation powers. We've got the wisps of smoke, we've got the blues, the blacks in there as well, and that's pretty much all we need to do on Nightcrawler. I'm going to move him around just so we can see his tail. It'd be nice if we could get a little bit more lift on that. But you know what? That's just window dressing, window shopping, I should say. Let's see if we can, just so I can get it in shot. Tilt it up, bend it round, twist it that way. Yeah, that's much better. Cool. So we've got his tail in shot as well. But I'm going to zoom out just so we can make sure we have the full effect. Get it like that, and lovely. But that is going to be it from this episode of Let's Make a Mini. So thank you all very much for watching. I do hope that you've enjoyed. As always, remember, if there are any characters you want to see me build on this series, put it down in the comment section below or hit me up on Twitter. You can always catch me there. Both my Twitter links will be in the description, along with links to Hero Forge, the site I use to make my minifigures. It's really user-friendly. They're adding new options every week. As I say, they've just included the science pack with the lab coat, the scrubs, all sorts of different extraneous items. It's really, really cool. You can make all sorts of stuff. They're not sponsoring me, I just love saying what they've got. So yeah, you can find Hero Forge's links in the description. They're the site for me, and it might be the site for you. And of course, as ever, you can find links to Tulok the Barbarian's building character, the series that inspired me to do this one. But I'm going to get out of here, I've rambled on far too long, so my final thank you to you all for watching. And I guess with that, I'll see you next time. Laters.